Let's start Big West. How about that?
Okay, sure. Big West, Tuesday to Saturday. Yeah, and you got three tournaments out west that are in Vegas, and then the Big East tournament, which is in the world's most famous arena. But let's
hmm
start Big West, Tuesday to Saturday in Henderson, Nevada. 10 of the 11 teams will participate in this tournament because UC San Diego, a lot of they've had some pretty infamous gambling moments this year and meltdowns, and their
Yes.
second halves have been pretty interesting. But they're not eligible for this tournament, which is it's just ridiculous. Like some of these teams are.
hmm
We're going to talk about what the. I think we have a. Do we in the WAC? Is there?
Well, they have the weird thing about New Mexico State, right? They
Yeah,
forfeited their
there's
season.
there's a couple other conferences where teams that are playing in it aren't eligible for the tournament, but they can win, like Merrimack. But so who knows? You're not even letting UC San Diego play in the conference tournament. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, their games
Uh,
don't even count for the standings. I think in the Big
yeah,
West, that's a weird rule they have. Only conference that
yeah,
does that.
yeah. But the one seed is UC Irvine. They are the favorites to win it. They're plus 160-ish. UC Santa Barbara is the 2 seed. They're plus 325. Then UC Riverside is the 3 seed. They're 9-1. Fullerton's actually the 4 seed and 4-1. Then Hawaii is the 5 seed, 6-1. Then you're at UC Davis, the 6 seed, 10-1. Beach, the 7 seed, 16-1. And then you have the dregs, Poly, Northridge, and Bakersfield are 100-1 plus. It's worth noting that, and I think UC Irvine got the number 1 seed because they went 2-0 against Riverside, and Santa Barbara went 0-2 against Riverside. And in the bottom half of the bracket, that's who Santa Barbara would face in the semis if they get by the winner of Beach and Poly, and Riverside gets by UC Davis. So talk to me about just high level what you see in the Big West. Is there any value or at the top or any long shots worth exploring?
Yeah, first off, I would say it's pretty wide open because these teams 1 through 7, there's not a lot of gap between them. Between like 100 and 147 on KenPom, you're not going to see a spread higher than 3 points ish among these teams. So kind of tough to pick a winner in terms of, or emphatically pick a winner, let's say, which is why I kind of lean towards a team not named Irvine, a team with a little bit longer odds. I lean towards Barbara here. I think Santa Barbara is the most talented team in the conference. Have the best guard in AJ Mitchell, arguably the best front court as well. Now they do have to play Riverside in round 2, like you said, who swept them, but they were close games. And again, I tend to ride talent in the tournament. I'm leaning their way right now at plus 325. It sticks out to me as one of the better values in this conference.
Now, so if you're looking at the top half and you're wanting to fade UC Irvine, because let me see if I run this real quick. Big West, because I would have grabbed Irvine at plus 160. I mean, I have them at like 30%. So there is zero value in UC Irvine. I'm going to come on here and make a case for my beloved Hawaii Warriors. So they would, the first, I think if you could find like an 8-1 out there. They did get blown out in the finale against Santa Barbara. But before that, if you look at a lot of their losses, I mean, they lost to Fullerton in overtime. Earlier in the season, they lost to Yale in overtime. They lost to Commerce by 2. They lost to Irvine. Let's see. They lost at Irvine, beat Irvine at home. They lost to Riverside by 2. They lost to Santa Barbara by 1. I mean, 6 of their 10 losses were by 2 or less or in overtime. They did get the Silva back last game, and this kid, Morsek, the 7'1" freshman, has really come on down the stretch. He had a rough game. I think they were really just walking into a buzzsaw at UC Santa Barbara, going for a share of the regular season title. But yeah, I don't mind the matchup of Hawaii against Irvine if they get by Fullerton, which is certainly no given. That's close to a coin flip game. But I like the upside of Hawaii. Any thoughts there on who else you could attack on the top half with Hawaii? It is worth noting, I know Sek has been playing lately at De Silva's back, but Hawaii has no bench, which could be a factor. What do you see in the top half other than Irvine?
I kind of like Fullerton and Hawaii to beat Irvine. So either team that comes out of that matchup. So Fullerton doesn't get a lot of press, but they won this tourney last year and they've beaten every single top team in the league. So they've proven they can beat these teams. They compete. And then in Hawaii's case, their defense, their toughness is what gives them a high ceiling, I think, in a tournament setting. They can drag any team into the mud. I do worry eventually when they get to the championship, play Santa Barbara. Seems to be the one team that can kind of out-talent them, we'll say. I think it's really hard for Hawaii to be top talent. But a team like Fullerton, Irvine, I think Hawaii can hang in there, drag them in the mud, and win by their defense. So again, Fullerton or Hawaii, I kind of like their chances over Irvine.
Yeah, if you look at Santa Barbara, and you look at their metrics, they live in the mid-range and they thrive in the mid-range. And that's where Hawaii forces you to go, right? They take away the three. I think they might have the lowest from a defensive perspective. Yeah, number one. They don't give up any threes. They have a lot of length. They can contest shots. And they can defend at the rim. But if you can thrive in that mid-range game, which is what Santa Barbara can do with their guard, that's why they've given Hawaii a bunch of trouble. So I think it actually works in Hawaii's favor that Barbara's on the other side. And you would hope that, I think you could find an 8-1. And then you can always hope that Riverside knocks off Barbara again. Hawaii did beat Riverside by 4 on the road, and they lost by 2 at home. I think that's a little better matchup for them. So yeah, I think if depending on who you like in that Hawaii Fullerton game, and obviously shop around, I think that, let's see, because who would I prefer from a matchup perspective, Hawaii or Fullerton against Irvine? And I think they both are going to be priced similarly, right? These two teams are in the same stratosphere.
Yeah, same spread either way, most likely for both those teams. Yeah.
Yeah, Fullerton, who's more reliant? Who can shoot the three? I mean, like Fullerton can shoot the three a little better, which is good because Irvine, again, what are they? The number 1 2-point defense again, as always.
Yeah, per usual.
So, yeah, I think it would just depend on price and then who you like in that matchup. I'm kind of biased to Hawaii. They have a soft spot in my heart, so I'm going to go with the Bows as the long shot. You're calling Santa Barbara, plus 350-ish?
Yeah, around there. And hey, if you want a flyer, we haven't even talked about Riverside. I think they're 9-1 in some places. I mean, they're going to be a pick with UC Davis, who they swept. They swept Santa Barbara, and then you make the championship. They did get swept by Fullerton and Irvine, so not great matchups there. But with the price, you might consider Riverside as well. Like I said, these top 7 teams are pretty much indistinguishable.
Yeah, and you always have a guy. You have a guy like Zion Pullen in your back pocket. And he didn't play. He didn't play for 2 weeks early in January, which
shockingly good without him.
Yeah, they won almost every game except Fullerton, but he's fully back now. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that there's much of a difference between all these teams, which makes Irvine just throw them out the window. They could obviously win this tournament, but at their current price, there is absolutely no value. And because they're so short, I think it's creating some value on some of the other teams. And it just comes down to a personal preference of who you like and for what reason.
Yeah, absolutely.